What's up, everybody? Welcome to the second episode of the uniteasia podcast. My name is Riz. So it's been about 24 hours since the first episode has gone up. I want to thank anyone that has taken the time to go listen to it or watch it. I know myself, when I watch a podcast, I can't do it in one sitting. Some of these podcasts can be up to 3 hours long. So what I love to do is just watch a little bit of it, listen to a little bit of it, take a break, maybe continue it the next day or the following day. Just makes every day exciting because you're like, oh, I can continue that podcast. So hopefully this podcast becomes one of those things that it just accompanies you during your week. So what I want to do first is go through all the comments that came up with the first one, because I'm looking at it here. And man, we got so many comments up here. So let's see how many. We got about 44 comments already. So let me just read through some of these. We got, let's see, the latest one we have looks like it's from Chengdu. I believe this is the person that runs a amazing promotion company who invites bands from overseas to come and tour China. The company's called New Noise. Let's see. He says, first time when I visited Malaysia, I stayed 3 nights in N's house. His hospitality and warm heart is something I will never forget. What a legend. Hope to see Second Combat in China one day. That is dope. So a lot of the comments talk about how amazing of a human being, how inspiring of a human being N is. Next comment here. All right, we got someone that runs one of the podcasts I dropped, whose name I dropped in the first episode, this Beast from the East. He says, hell yeah, talk about hitting a home run. That was awesome to hear his story. Got my support. Can't wait for the next one. Thank you so much for the shout out. Awesome. You know, we're all in this together. We got to help each other out. We got, what is this? Damn, had no idea Riz had such a silky voice. What? Okay. I had no idea I had such a silky voice too. Actually, that comment is not a strange comment at all. I've already had like 4 or 5 people, including the singer from my band Dagger, Nassim, wrote the same thing. He messaged me the same thing. He's like, oh, I had no idea your voice was so sweet to listen to. I don't know what that means. All right. Thanks anyway. And we got more people from Hong Kong. Got Terry Chang, who said, very inspirational. Looking forward to hearing the next one. Oh, we got another one from Beijing. We got Leo. This guy is the vocalist for one of Chinese hardcore's biggest legendary bands, Unregenerate Blood. Vocalist Leo. He wrote, I feel so good to hear your voice, brother. And the stories from N are awesome. Love it and really looking forward to the next one, Unite Asia. Hell yeah. We got a really long one here. Let's see. From someone named Shane Wyatt. Looks like this guy's from Hong Kong. He's got a massive long one here. Lots of great feedback here. Would be great if you could push into further details about how, when, and where he met his bandmates and got engaged with the local scene. The connection to the scene in Asia, connection to the scene in North America, what the venues are like, traveling around shows. Hell yeah, those are some great suggestions. Thank you for all those suggestions. We got Vinesh. Oh, this guy's the vocalist of an amazing punk band from Malaysia called Trophy Knives. He says, great job with the podcast. 45 minutes just flew by. You don't even know how good it is to hear that, because for a long time, Nicco and I were going back and forth like, man, 45 minutes, an hour, that's a long time for people to listen to this. And we actually edited N's interview. His original interview was about an hour and 10 minutes. And we whittled it all the way down to 45 minutes. It took hours to whittle his interview down because he had so much great things to say. But it's great that people didn't feel like that first episode was too long. So it kind of gives us the leeway to go a little bit longer next time around. More, we got Straight Answer. Nice. Indonesian hardcore legends. 2 words on their comment. Let's go. Nice. Like that. Okay, what else? We got more Indonesia. We got the vocalist of Final Attack from Indonesia. First episode, so inspirational. Can't wait to watch the next episode. We've got, I don't know if this is a guitar player or the bassist, but we've got Paul from an amazing melodic hardcore band from Thailand called Stay Awake. It says, great work, mate. You guys have always been so good to us and Stay Awake. We'll be following this for sure. Nice. Yeah, Joey Dizon from the Philippines. He's the one that told you runs 2 podcasts. I don't know how he runs so many podcasts. After posting the first one, I messaged him right away. I was like, how in the world do you do 4 or 5? His answer was, I don't sleep. So he's got a well done. Nice. We got another one from Hong Kong. This guy is JR. He plays guitar for an experimental metal band called Arkham. He says, oh my dude. And then I went back and forth a little bit, and then he gave me a little bit more information of what he loved. He said, I love the interview overall, but N's story about his brother, of what he went through, and the industry's filth just made me understand his story of how and why he chose to be straight edge, and it's very inspiring. Much respect to N and his firm conviction. We also got a simple 1 word, yes, from, I believe, I don't know if he's the vocalist or the drummer, because this band called Cut Lon from Vietnam all wear a Pikachu outfit. So I don't know if he's the guitarist or the vocalist. No, I know he's not the guitarist. He must either be the drummer or the vocalist. I think he's the vocalist. Simple word, yes. So thank you so much to everybody. I mean, there's like 50 comments here, so it would take me forever to look through everyone's comments. But thank you to everyone that took the time to listen to the first episode, to subscribe to it on YouTube, subscribe to it on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, because it will be weekly. It'll go up every week, every Sunday. With that, let's move on to the next part. All right, before we get into the main feature of the episode, I would like to take this time to talk about just what a few Asian hardcore and punk bands are up to going forward. So things that you can look forward to. I've got the whole list here. It's huge. We've got the Geeks, legendary Korean hardcore punk band, are in the studio currently. They're working on a 4-song release that will be coming out later on this year. Key, the vocalist, said he can't tell me more information about it. So, 4 songs. They're in the studio. Look out for that. We've got Nepalese grindcore band Shapang has already finished recording their next album. It's called March of the Gurkha Clan. I can't believe they already finished recording their 3rd album. They just released a 2nd one. Our friends metalcore giants from Thailand, Anna Lin, are currently in the studio for a new album. Social Circuit, dope. Social Circuit is an amazing, emotive punk band from Malaysia. It features Dean, who's also the vocalist of another legendary Malaysian hardcore band called Kids on the Move. Social Circuit is working on their debut full length. I don't know if it's going to be out this year, but I think they're working on it now. Maybe shooting for the end of the year or maybe early 2021. That's a great band. You got to check them out. Creep Out, Japanese hardcore band. They're releasing their debut full length and it's coming out at the end of this month, at the end of August, on Dead Sky Recordings. Dead Sky Recordings is the label that's owned by the vocalist of Cruelty. Cruelty is heavy, super heavy Japanese hardcore band. Got a lot of death metal influence in there. It's got some beatdown in there. An amazing band. Let's keep going on the Japanese front. We've youth crew band True Fight is releasing an album out on Set the Fire Records. That's pretty cool. So it's True Fight, Japanese youth crew band, on an Indonesian record label called Set the Fire Records. Chinese punk rock legends SMZB have a brand new album coming out. It's coming out around November time on Maybe Mars Records. Taiwan's Defeat the Giant. It's been a while since we've heard from them. Defeat the Giant will be recording a live session end of August. Their vocalist, Winston, also runs a podcast with a guitarist of another hardcore band called Deadpan. Deadpan rules. Defeat the Giant rules. So I will definitely link that in the description below so you can check out his podcast, learn some Mandarin. Ni hao, zhe miang, hai hao ma. So big ups to Taiwan, man. Taiwan's been doing it right in 2020. Thank you, Taiwan, for all the support. On the festival front, we've got CNHC Hardcore Fest, hell yeah, in China. This is their 9th year. They've just announced their first round lineup. So they've announced Unregenerate Blood, who are stalwarts of the Chinese hardcore scene. This is their 15-year anniversary. They're one of the bands that will be performing at it. It's in October. The festival has been, for the past few years, been traveling up and down China. For the first few years, it's always been in Beijing, the capital. But the past few years have been trying their best to kind of spread the message, take it on the road, advocate for hardcore and punk rock all over China. This year is the first year they're doing it in Hangzhou. And they're teaming up with Hangzhou Punk Fest, which will be, this is their 2nd year. So together, CNHC Hardcore Fest and Hangzhou Punk Fest are coming together to put on this year's festival. So look out for that. 2 days, October 17 and 18, I believe. All the information is on the uniteasia.org website. In Bangkok, there's a Hardcore in My Blood festival. So many hardcore and punk bands from Thailand. It's another 2-day fest. Read all about it on uniteasia.org. That festival, all the money will be donated to an amazing member of the hardcore punk scene in Bangkok. Read all about it on uniteasia.org. Lastly, got to talk about the 20th anniversaries for 2 awesome bands. One, Malaysian hardcore band Restraint. This is their 20th anniversary. And 13 Steps from Korea. It's also their 20th anniversary. I know that Restraint has been working on some cool stuff that should be coming out sometime this year. I know the 13 Steps were planning on doing a special show in Seoul that was going to take place in June. But because of the COVID-19 stuff, they've had to postpone their show and they haven't rescheduled it yet. All right. Lots of great things coming up. Lots of things to be excited about. What I would love to hear is more things. If you've got news, if you're in a band, in hardcore, punk, metal, indie rock, whatever, in Asia, and you've got a record coming out in 2020, message us. Just put it in the comment below. We'll make sure to shout out in the next episode. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to the main feature of episode 2. This episode, I've invited my really good friend Odessa, who plays drums for an amazing hardcore punk band from the Philippines called Choke Cocoi. I've got a couple of their releases here. Got this one with their split. This record is probably my favorite one because the recording on this is insane. Captured the spirit of the band so well. And also they've done this split with another amazing band called Tiger Pussy from Cebu. This is a great record too. It's a huge honor to have Odessa on. She is a phenomenal drummer. But not only that, in this episode, what we do is really start talking about her path to veganism and vegetarianism and how she got into it in the Philippines and what she's done, similar to Anne from the first episode, where she's taken all this information in, but instead of just keeping it and just changing her own life, she's tried to do stuff to advocate so that other people can be more aware about this culture, this mindset, and this lifestyle. And she's gone on to promote it by running her own restaurant in the Philippines. It's amazing. A couple things I want you to remember before you start listening to it is that Odessa and my friend Ann and a bunch of other people that we'll be interviewing in the future, English may not be their first language. It might be their third or fourth language. Maybe it might even be their sixth language. So a lot of these people that I interview for this podcast are a little bit nervous about how they come across. I've always reassured them that the audience for Unite Asia is so open-minded that they understand that an accent or vocabulary, or if they're stuttering, or if something doesn't make sense clearly, that at the end of the day, we understand that it's the message and what you're trying to say and the emotions you put into what you're trying to get across that's most important. And at the end of the day, support what you're all about. Another thing about my friend Odessa is that she was such a humble and kind and understanding person that the Wi-Fi kept going out where she was. And she kept saying she felt so bad and so upset about it. She kept saying, I'm so sorry, it's a third world country in the Philippines and this is what the Wi-Fi situation is like. I just wanted to say that it's absolutely okay. I knew that that would be the case, often is the case for any of these podcasts. So it doesn't matter. On that, I hope you enjoy this amazing episode and learn a lot more about Odessa and what she's done for the Philippines hardcore scene and the vegan scene. Enjoy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is such an immense honor for our second Unite Asia podcast is my lovely friend Odessa. She plays drums for a hardcore punk band out of the Philippines called Choke Cocoi. How are you doing?
Hi, Reese. I'm doing fine. I'm really excited to be part of this podcast.
That is amazing. I'm so excited that you would take the time out of your busy schedule because I know you run a vegan restaurant in the Philippines right now.
Yeah, there's a vegan cake in my oven right now.
So who's checking on the vegan cake?
Yeah, the staff.
The staff is checking on it.
Yeah.
Okay. So Odessa, what we'll do is, because this is an opportunity for people mainly outside of Asia or even outside of the Philippines to learn about you and learn about the Philippines hardcore punk rock scene, is it okay if we start from the very beginning about your whole journey into hardcore and punk?
All right. Well, actually, it started when we were in high school. Basically, in high school, we were just like stupid kids, not really serious about studies and all. Actually, me and Tweety, we came way back since high school, and we're these girls that doesn't have any female other friends, just the two of us. And then we are the only ones who listen to punk rock and to all this loud music. So basically, it's just us, and then there's other girl. Her name is Marlene, and she's this really really girly girl, but she listens to metal. That's why we really digged, and we started to form a band. So that's how we started play. So that's how I started playing drums. And Tweety started to learn how to play guitars. And then that girly girl, Marlene, she started playing bass just so we can form a band because there's not enough girl band out there, right? So that's how it started.
Do you remember, so what year are you talking about?
93, 94, 94 something. And then the first original song, I think it's 1995, 1996.
Are you talking about Choke Cocoi started in 1995?
No. No, it's this band called Uom. It's
Oh,
spelled UOM. It's just like the Choke Cocoi also. It started with a really silly name. It's actually it's actually the dirt on your foot, something like that. I forgot. Tweety made it up. She
uh,
made it up. So that's how it started.
so it sounds like Tweety has quite the knack for coming up with band names.
Yes, yes. Silly ones.
That is very funny. Odessa, but can you take us actually back to when you first heard punk rock, or how did you actually get into punk rock and hardcore? Did someone show it to you? Did you see something somewhere? How did you actually find it?
Well, at first, well, actually, we knew. Actually, Tweety and I, we had like, we pretty much have the same like opinion about a lot of stuff. Like we're this bunch of teenagers trying to figure things out, and then me and her, we're like, we assess these things. Like there's something new, like this music, and then that's pretty cool. Let's listen to that. You know, that's how we started pretty much.
Okay, and who was like, what were some of the first hardcore punk rock bands that you heard, and what did you like about them?
Well, we started listening to this really really loud music. Uh, Me personally, I started with L7, Babes in Toyland. Not really like punk rock, right? That's pretty much uh, what I really dug that time. Hardcore, I really like Refused at that time. Refused. Who else? I started listening to hardcore during the peak of the crime thing. What else? Earth Crisis.
So you were more, did you like more of the punk style of hardcore? Or did you like more of the metal style of hardcore? Because you got Earth Crisis and then you have L7, two very different bands.
Yeah, I know. Actually, a little bit of everything, but I cannot exactly say that I'm more of this, more of that. But I really like recently. I really like really fast bands. More on punk rock, I guess.
If you're talking about how you got into hardcore and punk, like you're saying L7 and Refused, back when you got into hardcore punk, was it the music that attracted you to it, or was it the politics or the message that attracted you to it?
Well, it's the politics and the music, I guess. You could say also the people around it, the community. The community, actually, the diversity, also the way people think, the it's all the combination of everything, like fanzines and the scene politics and all. Yeah, so that's pretty much how I got hooked in the hardcore punk scene.
So when you were in the hardcore punk scene at that time, like if you think back to 94 or 95, whatever year it was, did you already have a local hardcore punk scene in the Philippines going?
Yes, yes. It's particularly where we live here in Lucena. We have a really small punk. It's more of a punk community, and you know that at that time the hardcore is not much of a thing yet. But I really love the diversity. Oh, back then we have a ska, different kind of music, you know, and we all peacefully gather and play this music in one gig.
Yeah, and that makes sense because you're saying that the scene was small. So if the scene is small, it almost seems like sometimes when the scene is small, it's more open-minded, right? It's just
Yes,
like, oh,
yes,
hey, our scene is so small. Sure, you play ska, no problem. I play crust punk, no
yep,
problem. Let's just all build this together. And then once the
exactly.
scene expands, then it starts to separate, which is interesting, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah.
So Odessa, back in that era when you first got into hardcore punk and in the local scene, you're saying there already was a local scene. Was there a local punk band that really inspired you?
Yes, back then we have this great band called Alahadupax. We are like sibling bands. Like they don't play if we don't play, we don't play if they don't play. And we're all same age and we go to same school and they teach us these tricks. Like I think they're 3 years ahead of us. So they teach us things like politics and who's who of the scene, what chord is this song, you know. And they're punk band also, and I think they stopped playing after like 7 years.
Oh, okay.
So they stopped playing like I think in 1999, I guess.
You said that you and Tweety had already started a band before. When was
Mm-hmm.
it the real decision to start Choke Cocoi then?
1999, I think, if I was not mistaken. 1999, I think I just graduated from college, and Tweety is still on her last year of being a college student. And I think she just broke up with someone back then. And then we had this really, really crazy idea that we should start a band again. We had this decision if who's going to be the member,
Hmm.
and we had it's just the two of us, and then we decided that we should get someone who are as much as loser as we are, I guess. And we found Cutie and Joy. Yeah, we
And
found Cutie and Joy. They're both, I think they were studying college back then.
did you guys decide, like, was it intentional for it to be an all-girl hardcore band, or how did you guys decide on these four members?
Well, at first it wasn't intentional, but I guess in the long run, I guess we decided that, well, I think we should pick a girl, I guess, someone, but not just girl, but someone that we is in the same circle, I guess, and obviously there's none. So we asked our guy friends to introduce us to someone who they know who can play and who is not an asshole. So they came. I don't know if that's allowed. Sorry.
That's absolutely okay.
So they introduced us to Cutie and Joy, and then the rest is history.
Wow. And it's been the same lineup since then?
So Joy left the group after, I think, after just few gigs. I think 5 gigs or 8 gigs. I'm not sure. And then someone introduced us to Cheryl. Cheryl we knew because back then I had a little small jam space. So I opened up a really small practice place. So Cheryl with her band rehearsed there, and then when I heard her, I knew that we want her. So that's it. That's how Cheryl got into the group.
And Cheryl's still the vocalist today, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
she's
she is.
amazing. I mean, that she's got that throat shredding voice. Oh my
I
gosh.
know. Yeah, she looks like this really little girl who can't do anything, who is harmless, but don't give her the mic. Don't give her the mic and the pen. She knows stuff.
Okay, now with Choke Cocoi starting in 1999, in your scene, you're saying that it was already a very diverse scene, but it's always
Yep.
interesting to kind of hear about the journey for females and women to get into hardcore and punk. So when you guys first started your band, did you get any weird feelings from people in the community, from your family?
Yeah, in my family, not so much because I didn't really care about their opinion anyway. So the weird part, I guess, is within the community, the hardcore punk community. I guess there's the weird vibe that you know special treatment, like when we play, it doesn't matter if we suck because we're female. It doesn't matter if we only know we only knew one chord or stuff like that. So we felt that at that time that we had to like step it up. The original plan is to be just punk, just a punk band, right? So we kind of like, let's step it up and let's do something else. Let's make some weird tempos, stuff like that. That's one of the factors of how we sounded back then. um, we wanted to like, I don't know how to put it, different but not so different, but still us.
When you guys started, it wasn't like you were trying to copy anybody. You just knew that you
Mm-hmm.
wanted to play in a punk band. But
Mm-hmm.
even in 99 and when you started, it's so brilliant that you're like, even though we're playing in a punk band, how can we change it a little bit so we can find our own sound?
Exactly, exactly. Also, the part where I guess it you feel something like you always feel different if you're in a crowd where everyone has a penis, I guess, and and then you dive into stage and you're not you're not male, and then I guess it's I don't know how, I'm really lost for words, but it's different in a way that it's good and it's sometimes it really sucks. But personally, I didn't feel any discrimination. Lucky for me, but some did.
So you were just about to say that there were some incidents that you can remember about how you were treated, how the band was treated or welcomed into the community with some, maybe some discrimination, but you said you didn't really feel it, but you noticed that other people in the band were feeling it. Are there any
Mm.
instances or situations you could tell us about?
Yeah, I guess there's a like unwritten rule or like unsaid rules that if you're in a band in a community and you're female, I guess they have this they have the respect, I guess. Just for like just putting yourself out there. Because I know that just to be in a punk community, being a female is I think is hard enough. And to write songs about inequality, about politics, about losing jobs, losing lovers, motherhood. I guess they welcomed us.
Wow,
They
that's
welcomed
great.
us. Like, yeah, it's great. It's great. But it's not, unfortunately, it's not the case always. Not always the case.
Mm.
Because there's always this somebody's girlfriend in the scene. They are not being treated as same as we are being treated. The ones
Oh,
in the band.
I
Yeah.
see. You're saying that as band members, you actually did not really sense any discrimination. You were welcome because of this, the lyrics that you guys were singing about. I think that's great that you were singing about motherhood. And so you were bringing something new to the table, something new to think about for the audience. And you're really pushing them to be a little bit more progressive with their ideas. But you're saying that
Mhm.
not all the females within the scene were treated the same. So
Yes.
if females were on stage, they were still respected, but if they weren't involved in this in the community, they weren't as treated as respectfully.
Well, that's how I saw it from my perspective.
With Choke Cocoi, like I love that you brought up what your songs are all about. When you guys write the lyrics, or when Cheryl's writing lyrics, do you guys sit down and have conversations about what you're gonna address in some of your songs?
Well, at first it was like write your own song. Like Tweety would write her own lyrics, and then we put music on it, and then I would write my own lyrics, and then we would. But lately it was mostly Cheryl's lyrics, so it was more of really political stuff because Cheryl is she has so many grief inside about the politics, about the government, I guess. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. So she does use the band and the music and the
Yep.
lyrics as a way to express and vent all that anger and grief. I mean, I understand the
Yes.
Philippines is going through a lot right now, just like Hong Kong is going through
Ye-
a lot.
Yes, yes, I know. Yeah.
So I'm assuming that Cheryl's probably got enough lyrics for maybe 100 new songs.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, especially now that we've been quarantined since March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Odessa, since you've been running this vegan restaurant in the Philippines, can you actually take us back to when you first heard about veganism? And what was it about veganism? Was it a band? Was it someone in the scene that explained this to you? How did you get into it?
Well, who else would introduce this to me? Of course, my punk friends, right? Well, at first, when it was introduced to me back in early 2000, I was really curious about it. I tried it for 6 months, and then I went back to eating meat again, and then it went on for 12 years. Fast forward 12 years, I watched this documentary called the Gerson therapy, which basically I had a breakthrough that food has a really, really big effect on us, not just physically, but everything around us, like environment, spiritually, mentally, and of course, not to mention the effect to the animals. And it was an information that you just want to tell everyone. Like, so what I did was I learned how to cook vegetarian at first because I wasn't vegan yet. Luckily back then I was married to someone vegetarian, and that's how I got into cooking. Really loud. That's how I got into cooking vegetarian meals, and then 2013 I started a really small company. It's a home-based company. I cook for 10 people, and then I brought it to their office, and then it went on for 6 months, I guess, 6 months. And then the year after that, it went from every Monday, it went from meatless Mondays to Monday to Friday. I cook and then I bring it, to people. That's how I started. For a year, I did that. And then I got really inspired by this really small cafe in Manila. It had just 2 tables, really, really small tables. I thought, if they can do that, I can do that. Because 2 tables, it's not hard to manage, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I started, just 2 tables. That's just 2 tables. And then now
Wow.
we have like, I don't know, I think 7 tables here.
Wow, that's such a cool story. But do you remember actually when you watched that documentary? Because you said that you tried vegetarianism many years ago and you tried it for 6 months, but then you went off of it. You tried it again, you
Mm,
went off of it. But
mm,
something in that documentary really changed your mind. And are you saying that it was the first time you realized how that
yeah,
choice that you make, it's not about yourself, it's actually about the people
yes.
around you and the environment around you? Was there something in that documentary that you remember?
Yes, actually, it's about food being used to cure cancer, actually.
Mm,
And then at that point, I remember thinking that, oh my God, um, the reason why people kept on working, keep working and working and working, because they are eating food that are bad for them, and when they get sick, they have to work harder because they have to buy pills. They have to buy for the hospitalization. They have to buy Medicare. That didn't make sense to me. That didn't sound like actually living,
mm,
right?
mm.
So that's how I started advocating about eating better. At first, because my reason for being vegetarian then is for health reasons. So I advocated more on being healthy, not getting sick and all. But it grew on me when I stopped eating animals. It grew on me that cats, pigs, and other animals are not that different from me. I don't know where it came from, but it probably came from not eating them.
Mm,
So now I advocate on not eating them so you can feel something. So you
right.
feel that we are not all that different. Even if it means that sometimes we have this bad reputation, the vegans, but you wouldn't understand if you didn't try, I
Right.
guess.
But that's amazing because it sounded like a lot of vegan people that I've met, they actually get into it because of the animal rights part. It sounded like the animal rights part came second for you. First, it was the health, and you didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to support a
Yeah.
cycle of people who have to work really hard
Yep.
and then they get sick. Then they have to buy pills to then get better. Then they have to continue to work hard because they keep getting sick and they have to keep buying more pills. So you wanted to break that system somehow because you're such a punk rock person. You wanted to break that system.
Yep.
And then you realize, then you were realizing, you're like, okay, besides breaking that system, I'm also understanding the feelings of animals and how we don't need to do that to them. And that way we're protecting this environment, the world we live in.
That's pretty much it. Like I said earlier, that you wouldn't understand, because people know this, friends know this, that I hate vegans back then. I hate vegans. I don't want to be one. They're so annoying. They're so annoying, and they're so arrogant. And stop telling me what to eat, and And then years later, oh my God, I am one of them. I am one of.
But that's very funny. So you're saying that you used to have a period in your life that you hated vegans because they were so annoying.
I hated them. Yep, I hated them. I even wrote this some comments in one of a Filipino vegan page that I hate vegans and blah blah blah.
That is very funny. But then when you became vegan and then you were doing that, the delivery food that you were doing, and then you opening a restaurant, and you also said earlier that you opened a jam space. So it sounds like in your heart and your brain, you have a very strong entrepreneur, business savvy kind of person. Where did that come from?
Well, not real. Actually, that's a funny story, because I didn't want to open up a restaurant. I just want a simple life. Of course, I have to live. I have to earn money, but it's like 80% advocacy, because I know that it is what I am here for. I'm here to do these things. It's like that. I feel like it's my duty.
So with your restaurant, I know that sometimes to advocate for veganism or a certain lifestyle, you have to have a place that becomes like a workshop or a cultural center. Is that what you feel like your restaurant has become?
Yes, actually, it has been like a mothership of the community here. Like some vegans here, they will call me mother. I don't know why, because and maybe because this place has become like home to them, and we do some vegan cooking class in a really, really low price. Like it's almost giveaway. It's a punk rock thing. I guess I cannot be, I cannot be 100% entrepreneur. I have to be a punk rock sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also yearly I do this free mentoring, like 22-day vegan challenge. It's free, and then people will volunteer and do this challenge, and then sometimes I do 15 to 20 people all at the same time. I mentor them all at the same time, and I would that particular challenge would produce like 6 vegans.
So it sounds really cool what you've tried to do. It's not just that you've opened a restaurant. It really seems like you're trying to create a movement in the Philippines. At least in your community, you're trying to create a movement for more and more people to really understand the background for veganism, this type of lifestyle. So then my question is that, do you find that there is a hope and future for veganism in the Philippines?
Definitely, especially in Manila. There are so many vegans there right now, and the communities is doing great in advocating also. Particularly here in our city, there are more and more vegans every year. I'm not saying because of me, but because of the internet also, the information is much easier right at this time. So, and also it's much easier to cook now that the people are like staying at home, and easier to cook.
Wow, that's great news. So in terms of your own business too, and your own restaurant, the COVID-19, the lockdown situation is almost benefiting you a little bit.
No, not really, because the entrepreneur side is like crying inside right now, because not much people are like would like to go out and eat. So it really like devastated not just me but every restaurant here in the city. Like it's really hard. We are like just trying to survive this, but we are
Yeah.
making most out of it.
Right, right. I mean, it sounds like you have the right positive attitude to be able to hopefully get through this situation that the whole world is
Mhm.
in right now.
Yeah, and the COVID-19, the best way to combat it is to eating healthy. You know, just stay away from getting sick, because the mortality of the COVID-19, it came from the people who have a pre-existing condition, and most of them are lifestyle diseases. So you know, it's not really too late to eat healthily, eat mindfully. You know, to if this COVID-19 is here to it's gonna be here for I think a couple more years. I don't know, I'm not sure, but you know, it's the perfect time to reflect on what we eat.
So Odessa, with Choke Cocoi, how did you make a decision that you were going to play the drums? Why not guitar or bass or be the vocalist?
When we were trying to plan this about this band, I'm already a drummer, and I didn't want to play any instrument at that time. And wait, I just remembered something. Oh, I I remember us trying to hire this girl who knows how to play drums, but it turns out that this girl wanted to boss around, like she wanted to decide what kind of music we were gonna play. So me and Tweety like, that's not gonna happen. Kick her out. Yeah, I remember that. Thank you. I just remembered that.
That's very funny. So you wanted to make sure that you guys still had freedom in the band to be able to play whatever you wanted to play.
Yeah. And she wanted us to play corn. Imagine.
I think that's the main reason why you kicked this girl out of the band.
Deal breaker.
Sounds like a deal breaker for sure. Now, you also,
Yeah.
besides getting into like with Choke Cocoi, playing in a hardcore punk type of band, later on you joined Veils and played more of a metallic, dark hardcore style, very
Yeah.
heavy. So why did you
Yeah.
want to play that type of music too?
Why? Back then I was really like focused on cooking vegetarian meals at that time. I didn't have any bands back then, and I heard that Vales is looking for someone. I think, if I can remember. Yeah, and then they're all my friends, and I said I volunteered. Whether you like it or not, I can play.
So you forced yourself on them.
Not really. They were based in Manila, and I'm based here in Lucena. But I have to travel 5 hours just to practice, and that went on for several years. I think 4 years I was in Bales, and then I opened the restaurant, and then that's too much. I can't handle this anymore. You have to find another drummer.
Wow. So 4 years, you traveled five
Yeah.
hours for practice?
Yep. Practice and almost also gigs. Yeah.
Wow. That's commitment, man. You're a very committed person.
Yeah. Basically, I'm just scared of them. That's why.
They're gonna
The
destroy your
pressure.
reputation.
The pressure is real.
I know that you have, how many children do you have?
I have one boy. I know, not boy. He's a man now. He's 18, turning 18 this September.
Oh my gosh, you have an 18-year-old?
Yep,
You look like an
yep.
18-year-old.
No, he, his name is Reason.
Okay. Can I
Yeah.
ask, like, with you turning vegetarian and then becoming vegan and being such a strong advocate, how has he resorted to this? How does he feel about it?
Well, last year he had this disease, bacterial something in his guts, and that's how pretty much I started telling him to start eating vegetarian food, and now he's vegan since December. Yeah.
He's vegan now.
Now, yeah, yeah.
Wow. So even it even works for him. And for him, again, it wasn't because of an animal rights thing. It was really about
No.
health.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know that it's not really like the ideal reason, but you have to be real. Like, I cannot tell this kid who grew up eating animal is normal, and then one day, like, I tried to show him some documentaries, but it's really hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy to switch from omnivore to like since you're born, you've been eating meat, and Filipino cuisine is like pretty much meat based, so it's really not that easy. So I'm really happy. It doesn't matter now. So I mean, I guess now that he's vegan now, I think he's vegan now because he doesn't live with me anymore. He
Oh,
lives
I
with his
see.
father. Yeah. So as far as I know, he doesn't eat dairy.
But that's great that he was able to make that change in his lifestyle to better his own health. And does I'm sure
Yes.
he's seen benefit from it, right?
Yes. Yes. He started. He used to have a breakouts, and now he's like, he now has a really smooth skin now. That's like her mother. That's his mother. Yeah.
Odessa, this has been such a great conversation hearing about your journey and learning about women getting involved into hardcore and punk in the Philippines, but even more importantly about your mission in life and purpose in life to spread the awareness of veganism for health benefits, for animal rights. It's such an amazing thing you're doing. Now, as you look to tomorrow or next year, what are your hopes? What are your plans?
I hope to retire in 7 years. I'm not kidding. Um, um, while I still can, while I still have this place, I want to get the most out of it. I want to get more people to be involved in the community, not just in vegan community, also I want them also to be aware in some issues like plastic waste and all that stuff, and supporting local businesses, something like that. I'm always thinking about the community because what we have here right now, it's something that I didn't grow up having. It's something wonderful, and I think I want this to go on even if this restaurant is no longer here. I'm not really certain for how long I'm gonna be here. I mean the restaurant and also me. But as much as I want to pass it on to other people. Especially, I think it would be better if to pass it out on to someone who have a background in being punk. I guess.
Mm.
I guess it's just different if everything has a a a punk application to to things, even in raising your kid, cooking something, like going out there. I think I'm really lucky to to benefit the punk attitude, right? That I accumulated over the years of going to the gigs and meeting different people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool that you were able to take that punk rock attitude, the punk rock ethos, and the ideals of punk rock, and you've let it continue into your life. So the way you run your restaurant, it's not
Yep.
a capitalist mindset. It's not like an
No, no,
entrepreneur, profit-based, like money, money, money. It's all I want. You're like, no, I just
no.
need to break even. As long as I can break even, and or even if I
Yep,
don't break even, like you're saying with the COVID
yep,
situation, you have
yep,
a
yep.
sense of purpose and you want to continue this regardless. But you're
Yes,
saying that
exactly.
if you do pass this on, you don't want to pass it on to someone who's just looking to profit from your restaurant because it's going to take the heart and soul away, right? When you first got into hardcore punk and you're talking about all the punk rock ideals and ethos. Do you remember like how you were finding out about all of that?
Uh, well, fanzines, of course. The fanzines, I love reading fanzines. I forgot most of them now, but it really like, because we don't have social media then, right? So other people's opinion are there, and then you assess your own opinion, and then you get it like, oh my God, that's right, right? Through fanzines, through some songs, and then the people you talk to at gigs, your friends, you discuss these things over like a beer or something, and then, you know, you grew up. You grew up with punk.
I agree with you. I remember like the end of the 90s or like the early 2000s when I first heard about the Philippine scene. You're right. The zines in the Philippines was like an explosion. It was just like this nonstop flood of
Yeah,
zines that people would send to
yeah.
me. So zines, you're right, were such a big part of the punk rock community in the Philippines.
It was, and it was. I don't think that, you know, here you can call someone punk if you didn't read any fanzine, right?
Wow, that's such a cool part about the Philippines history and punk rock and hardcore, how
Mhm.
important the zine culture was to spread the message of the music and the attitude. But most importantly, what you
Mm.
said just now, the ideals and the ethics. It's not just from the lyrics of songs, because sometimes the lyrics are too
Mhm.
short. It's in the zines where
Mhm.
the author or the writer can really stretch out the ideas and sentences and paragraphs, right?
Exactly, exactly. It's really like, it's really abundant with different political issues, and then because there's no really internet back then, and then you read some stuff about uh, a, a write-up from someone in Sweden, and then you imagine that, oh, that's Sweden, huh? It's through fanzine, right?
Yeah.
It's really priceless.
Yeah. I mean, it was also cool because you would have a zine and then right now in social media world, the internet world, you read a sentence, then you can read another website, then you can read another post, and then your attention is
Yeah,
gone. But back then you only had
yeah.
one zine and you would read it for weeks sometimes.
Yep, yeah. And then you reread it after a while,
Yeah.
right? Kids these days, they have they do not appreciate things like that anymore, like we used to, right? But um, I guess that would be cool. But I advocate also minimalism.
Yeah. Minimalism. That's
Yeah,
true.
minimalism. Yeah, I
That's
think
true.
it will be great to have at least an ebook like digital prints of this fanzine, but with the same approach, like typewritten, and then you scan it, and then you distribute it online, right?
Yeah, like the old DIY graphics of the zine
Yep.
era. That was a lot of fun. But you're right. I mean, in this day and age, and it also makes sense with your idea and your mindset that you don't want to create more things just to create it. You don't want to just become
Mm,
a mindless consumer. You're like, I still want to be
mm,
mindful of the fact that we're wasting paper, trees are going to be
yep,
cut
yep.
down for this. So you're thinking about like in the digital era, what can we do to maintain that feeling of holding something or reading something and taking time to digest it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be great if the young ones could appreciate the ones that the feeling that you can smell something, right? You used to smell fanzines, right?
Yes, yes.
The smell of the ink from the Xerox machine, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like the smell of the ink from the Xerox machine, or when you open a CD booklet, you smell the CD booklet. You're
You
like, oh, look at
smell,
that fresh paper.
yeah, and then you like you glare at the lyric sheet for like an hour until you memorize the lyrics.
Odessa, thank you so much for your time. Is there any last words, anything you want to say to your audience?
First, I want to thank you for having me here. It's such a big honor. It's such a big honor. I guess I wanted to say is like, we're gonna go through this pandemic, this whatever it is that we are dealing with right now, the politics, the government. We're gonna get through it. Um, the least we can do is, I guess, help each other out in any form, shape, or whatever. In like giving out free food, being nice on the internet. You know, we're all on the same boat. We are all going through this, and I guess go vegan.
All right. Thank you, Odessa. Bye.
Thank you, Riz.
Bye. That's it, my friends. That's the end of episode 2. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned some stuff. Please make sure to look in the description down below for any sort of links to Odessa's activities, her restaurant, her band, all this lovely stuff. Anything that I've mentioned will be in the description down below. See you next week. Peace.
Look at what we've been through.